The movie opens with Marley, Fela, two best friends hitting the gym along with their friends. Later, Shannon and Samuel tell Fela they will meet her at the TV station and bid everyone goodbye. Marley, a lawyer, is in a relationship with Tony, who used to be a cop before becoming a private investigator due to an issue. Kevin, on the other hand, is a police officer. For some reason, Fela openly dislikes him. When Kevin tries flirting with her and says she looks beautiful, she tells him that her husband thinks so too. As Kevin bids goodbye to everyone, Marley suggests that she, Fela, and her husband, Rodney, should go out for dinner. And Marley questions about Fela's dislike toward Kevin, which she shares that he always looks at woman's ass. But Marley defends him, saying he is actually a good guy. She explains that she has worked with him on cases where he was the lead officer. Sensing something is wrong with Fela, Marley asks what's bothering her. In response, Fela questions whether Rodney has spoken to her since they are close. Marley, who considers Rodney like a big brother, says he hasn't mentioned anything. Wanting to get to the bottom of it, she texts Rodney the address of the restaurant. Initially, Fela is hesitant about going to a restaurant but ultimately agrees to meet her there. At the restaurant, after greeting Rodney, Marley asks how his gym is doing, to which he replies that everything is fine. Just then, Fela joins them. Without beating around the bush, Marley asks the couple what's wrong. However, both insist they're fine. Instead, Fela shifts the conversation, revealing that since she had arranged for Marley to meet Tony and asks when they're going to get married. Realizing she won't get any answers, Marley gives up. Meanwhile, Kevin, a senior officer, briefs rookie officers about crime-ridden areas controlled by gangs and violence. He vows to put an end to the violence and urges the officers to stay alert and vigilant in those areas. After the presentation, Kevin stops a rookie officer named Caleb and informs him that he will be working with him today, instead of Officer Dabney. Caleb, feeling uneasy, asks if he has done something wrong. Kevin reassures him, saying he has been observing him for a few days and believes he has great potential. Elsewhere, Fela is preparing to present the news along with her co-worker Shannon. Meanwhile, Rodney is jogging through a residential neighborhood, and in one of the houses, a woman named Dolores receives a call from her neighbor informing her that a black man is walking behind her house. Alarmed, she immediately calls 911. As Kevin and Caleb are monitoring the area, Kevin teaches Caleb that this area is not like the small town he worked in before. He advises him to shoot anyone if a police officer says, "Gun." Caleb nods in agreement. Then they hear about a situation involving a black man. Since they are nearby, they are dispatched to check it out. Upon arrival, Caleb draws his gun on Rodney, who has his hoodie on and doesn't hear them due to his headphones. As Rodney reaches for his phone to turn off the music, Kevin yells, "Gun!" prompting Caleb to shoot Rodney. At the news station, Fela learns that her husband has been killed. Frozen in shock, she is unable to react. And Marley receives the devastating news from her boyfriend, Tony, about Rodney's shooting. Tony later questions Kevin about what happened. Kevin explains that he had been training the rookie cop but didn't expect him to shoot Rodney. Fela receives confirmation that her husband has been pronounced dead. After helping Fela to bed, Sam and Shannon offer Marley their support. Sam also reveals that he has a local investigative team and promises to inform her if he finds anything. After bidding them goodbye, Marley vows to put Caleb behind bars. She also vents about the persistent issue of white officers killing black men and how Tony was unfairly fired from the force over a minor incident. Tony tells Marley that Kevin believes the shooting was justified since Rodney's phone looked like a gun. However, Marley isn't convinced. Tony also raises the question of why Rodney was in an alley between two houses in the first place. The next day, Rodney's funeral is held. Fela is appalled to see news reporters covering the event. Furious, she tells them to back off and declares that no black man is safe in the city. At Fela's home, Kevin arrives to apologize for the misunderstanding. Before he can speak to her, Tony warns him to leave. However, Fela arrives just in time, accuses Kevin of killing her husband, and kicks him out. Marley consoles her grieving friend. Fela breaks down, expressing her financial struggles. With Rodney gone, she worries about how she will manage their debts. Marley assures her that she will fight for her case and get her a generous settlement, just as she did for Tony when he was wrongfully fired. Back at Tony's house, Marley tells him about Fela's financial troubles and suggests they lend her some money until the settlement comes through. Tony agrees. Marley then reflects on their relationship, admitting that, in a way, she is grateful Tony got fired and that Fela introduced them. Otherwise, they might never have met. Shortly after, Marley visits the DA's office, but the streets are packed with protesters demanding justice for Rodney's unjustified killing. Inside, Ina, the DA, cuts straight to the chase, stating that the case seems like a simple open and shut matter. However, Marley insists that it should be handled differently. She asks about the body cam footage, and Ina says it will be released in a few days. When Marley presses the issue, Ina reluctantly shows her the video. Marley is appalled by what she sees. Ina tells her that the footage makes it look like Rodney was holding a gun, so even if Marley pursues legal action, it won't hold up in court. She also reveals that the DA's office is considering pressing charges against Caleb, but the police union is backing him. Determined, Marley declares that she will sue the state and storms out. Once in her car, Marley reveals that she saw the body cam footage. Tony, who has also just watched it, tells her he'll be with her soon. Moments later, Tony arrives and gets into Marley's car. He admits that the killing might be legally justified, but insists that they need to stand up for Fela regardless. The protests continue to grow. Marley holds a public press conference demanding that the mayor and DA release the evidence that allegedly justifies Rodney's killing. Later, Marley tracks down the woman who called 911 on Rodney. She introduces herself as a friend of Rodney. After apologizing for Rodney's passing, Dolores claims she didn't even know Rodney was in the alley until her neighbor Beaumont called and told her. Halfway through the conversation, Dolores grows suspicious of Marley and refuses to give any more information. Later, Marley meets with Shannon and Sam at her office. She tells them she has to do a TV interview with them to pressure the state. Sam then informs Marley that his station received an anonymous tip, which Shannon finds suspicious, as the caller specifically asked if he knew Marley. They show Marley a photo of a woman named Anna. The tipster claimed that Rodney had been having an affair with her and that the alley where he was shot was behind her house. They also show Marley a doorbell camera photo of a car outside Anna's house. Marley immediately recognizes it, but didn't say anything to them. Later, she storms into Tony's office demanding to know why his car was in front of Anna's house. She accuses him of knowing about Rodney's affair. Tony comes clean, revealing that Anna's husband had hired him to find out who she was cheating with. It turned out to be Rodney. Tony admits he kept this from Marley because he knew how much she cared about Rodney and didn't want to break her heart. Marley, disappointed that Tony hid such a huge truth from her, walks out. She then visits the Beaumont's house to question whether they were the ones who called Dolores about a black man in the alley. She swears she didn't. Marley realizes something isn't adding up. She then visits Fela, who is visibly struggling. After offering a few comforting words, Marley breaks the news. Rodney had been having an affair. Fela is devastated. Marley offers to stay with her for the night, but Fela brushes her off, insisting that she needs to be alone. Later, as Marley is parking her car in the garage, Caleb appears out of nowhere. He pleads with her to convey to Fela that he is sorry, insists that he has a child, and claims that he isn't racist. Unmoved, Marley calls Tony, who scares Caleb off. Tony then contacts Kevin, instructing him to keep Caleb in check. Kevin promises to have his team track Caleb at all times. Kevin later meets Caleb at Rodney's grave and warns him that he is safe, for now, as long as he does not attempt to contact the victim's family. The next day, Marley arrives at Fela's house only to see a man escaping through a window. Alarmed, she immediately calls 911 and enters the house using her spare key. Inside, she wakes Fela and informs her that someone had broken in and that she has already called the police. Tony arrives with law enforcement. After confirming that Marley and Fela are unharmed, the police begin collecting evidence. Fela quickly concludes that Caleb must be responsible, given that Marley had mentioned his visit the previous night. Upon seeing Kevin, Fela, enraged, kicks everyone out and the news of Rodney's affair has spread. The next day, while Marley is at work, Sam arrives and hands her a document detailing Caleb's troubled military history, which he discovered thanks to his investigation team. Marley later visits Ina at the DA's office. Ina agrees to settle, but Marley reveals what she's learned about Caleb, how he once nearly beat a black officer to death and used racial slurs. She questions how officers like Caleb are hired without proper background checks. Ina finally comes clean. She admits that most officers refuse to work in the high-crime red zone, and Caleb was one of the few willing to take the job. The department overlooked his past because they were desperate for officers. 3 months later, after Marley presents all these issues, the state settles with Fela for a whopping $15 million and an arrest warrant for Caleb is issued. Later, Fela holds a press conference, honoring Rodney's achievements and calling for an end to the protests. 4 months pass. Marley's relationship with Tony remains strained. Later that night, as Marley leaves the gym, she spots Sam and Shannon. They compliment her on winning the case. Marley reveals that Fela has stopped talking to her, which surprises them. They admit that Fela hasn't been in contact with them either and that she recently moved. This is news to Marley. She bids them goodbye, but moments later, a black van pulls up, and inside is Caleb. With him is Anna Lewis. Anna reveals that she met Kevin online and dated him for a year. He always spoke highly of Marley, and as the time passed, he became abusive. She kept changing her name and moving, but Kevin always found her until she met Rodney at his gym while taking self-defense classes. Rodney promised to protect her, even though he was married. And Marley is surprised by Caleb's wife is black. She gives Marley a phone number to contact them if she wants to help. The next day, Marley calls Tony and asks why Tony was working in Zone 7, where Rodney's murder took place when he should have been working at Zone 5. Tony agrees that it's strange. Marley tells him she'll talk to him later and ends the call. She then invites Sam and Shannon for a visit to Caleb's hideout. Once inside, she introduces Sam and Shannon to them and brings up the zoning discrepancy. She explains that she knows how the zones work because of Tony's firing. She then asks Caleb why he and Kevin were in that area that day. Caleb reveals that Kevin randomly assigned himself as his field training officer that day. Caleb also reveals that when he tried to save Rodney after the shooting, Kevin told him to back off. Sam then questions Caleb about his past incident with the black officer. Caleb's wife immediately defends him, explaining that the officer, who was also her ex in the military, was taking advantage of her, so Caleb beat him up. She insists that her ex lied about the racial slurs. Marley starts to piece everything together and concludes that Kevin orchestrated Rodney's shooting to separate Anna and Rodney. Marley finds this hard to believe, but Anna insists that Kevin is a psycho. She also reveals that she has proof. Recording of Kevin hitting her. She says she tapped the phone under a drawer at a rental house Kevin frequents. She gives them the address. Outside, Marley bids them goodbye. Marley heads to the location alone. Shortly after arriving, Tony suddenly jumps out, startling her. When she questions why he is there, he explains that after her call, he also started digging into Kevin. Before he can reveal what he found, Kevin arrives and informs them that he bought the house a while ago. He then invites them inside. Marley excuses herself to go to the bathroom, where she finds the phone with the recording. As she prepares to leave, Tony and Kevin invite her for a boat ride, but she declines. When she tries to open the front door, she realizes it's locked. It is then revealed that Tony and Kevin had planned this entire scheme. They knock Marley out and take her onto the boat. During the ride, Marley regains consciousness and overhears them discussing how they set up Rodney's death, exploiting his affair to make it look justified, and how they profited from the settlement. And Kevin was the one who jumped out from Fela's window, making it clear Kevin is romantically involved with Fela. Through, a police patrol boat approaches, but when the officer becomes suspicious, Kevin and Tony kill him. After tying Marley to an anchor, they drop her into the ocean. Marley fights to free herself from the chains and, after a struggle, manages to break loose. She resurfaces, overpowers them, and takes all three down. The next morning, she gives a televised interview, exposing how corrupt individuals manipulate political narratives to justify crimes that should never be excused.